The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Open Door in the Arts. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking about theater and acting and voice acting. We have with us first David Bunce. He is an actor, a director, a fight choreographer. You may have seen his play, a big success recently down at Capitol Rep. It was called Red Maple. So welcome, David.
Thank you.
And then in a couple more minutes, we're going to talk to one of your students about something else we'll get to.
Great.
So David, one thing I wanted to ask you first.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I talk to actors, I always think of that song in A Little Night Music, The Glamorous Life. You've been doing this for 30 years. How's the glamorous life treating you for the last 30 years?
Excellent. You know, I just, I have a couple of songs I warm up to sometimes at home, and the first song on this Broadway compilation is There's No Business Like Show Business. So that one has the lyrics like, you know, the towels you took from the last hotel, and your uncle died at dawn, you got to go on tonight, and stuff like that. So it's a little more of that than the glamorous life.
It's more like, okay. So you've done everything, actor, director. So you were in NIST. I should tell people David was part of New York State Theater Institute for 27 years.
Yeah.
You went from an actor to a very successful play. It was called Red Maple. I think there was some sold out, good reviews. Mm-hmm. What was that like, being an actor for 27 years? I know you've written some other plays, but this was obviously the most successful you've had. What was that like?
I had always written. I had always been a film buff and a filmmaker, so I had written more screenplays than I had plays, and then a couple things, and then Red Maple, and. It was almost nothing like I thought it was going to be.
Even though you've been involved in theater your whole...
Yes, because I didn't realize, as a playwright, they tell you to sit in the corner and stay quiet, and they'll call you if they need you, which is to change words. So I went from being one of the people in the room who's like, ooh, I can move here, and how about I try it this way, as an actor, or as a director saying, okay, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and you do this, to sitting in the corner quietly. Basically, it was.
So it was a whole new experience.
Awful at times. You know, writers go, "Oh, I saw my stuff come to life. I saw people work on it, and to hear the actors say it." No, for me, it was like
they were just terrified.
Really, I just can't say anything. I got to see her.
But the response was quite a good response, I think.
Shows
were sold out. What is this going to now? Is this play going to be part of the community theaters? Is it going to be done anywhere else? Or?
I hope for everything and anything. It's strange because it came to Cap Rep's attention through their Next Act Play Festival, and then they ended up eventually choosing it for production. And there was a year of development and hype and everything else for the production. Then the production happens, and everybody's coming, and it's great reviews and everything else. And then the production closes. And it goes from the world premiere to now what? And so I'm putting it out there. I had some interest during the run of Cap Rep. A couple of theaters actually contacted me and asked for a perusal copy. And I just launched a website for it yesterday for the show to try and spark interest in people licensing it for production.
These are like regional theaters?
The ones I reached out to were regional theaters.
The Broadway call, I should say.
That'd be great, but you know.
But these are regional theaters.
These are regional theaters that were reached out, or I reached out to.
Oh, okay.
But I had a friend from a amateur theater, just email me this morning and say, well, is it available for non-professional rights? So that's something I'm going to now think about.
So you think you might be writing more plays? Or?
I'm in the middle of writing a play, and I'm in the middle of writing a few episodes for like a Netflix type of series.
All right, so you're still involved. One thing I want to ask you, one of the things you do, besides actor, director, writer, you're a fight choreographer for plays. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me if this is right. It's not going to sound right when I say it, but I think I read you did a one-man show based on Shakespeare's fight scenes. Is that right? That doesn't sound right, but is it?
I did a one-man show based on Shakespeare's soldiers.
Oh, okay. All right. Not the fight
And
scene.
it was called Dogs of War,
Okay.
Shakespeare's Soldiers. And I was always interested in doing parts of Shakespeare that I never got a chance to.
Okay.
Some of the really big parts, that I didn't get a chance to do a Hamlet or a Henry V or something like that.
Okay.
So I started to develop that with David Baker, who was directing it, who works at Russell Sage, and he started to ask me about why am I fascinated with soldiers or fight choreographer or any of that kind of stuff. And I began to realize that I'd been cast as soldiers when I was younger, of course.
In all the Shakespeare plays.
Throughout my career. So I was constantly trying to, I was a Vietnam soldier, so then I had to really research Vietnam, and this was just after Vietnam.
Okay.
Or another one where I was World War II, so I'd have to research. So I realized I was constantly researching soldiers of different time periods. So I ended up mixing famous speeches of Shakespeare's soldiers with stories of my own working toward being a soldier. And it was like a 1 hour
Okay.
terrifying experience.
Now that I think about it, it probably would have been hard to do fight scenes as a one-man show.
You can still get out there with a weapon and work it.
So one of the things you taught at Russell Sage for many years. At the moment, you're not teaching there. You're an adjunct, but one of your students, we're going to talk to in a second, wants to be a voice. Is that the right term? Voice actor.
Yes.
Okay. And you have a class called Voice and Text. What is that?
Voice and text is basically everything from how to create good tone in your voice, posture, support with breathing, relaxation, and those kinds of things that just create natural good tone, to what do we do with the text? How do we use the articulators? How do we use the consonants? How do we use vowels when we speak the English language? Everything from that to making very clear what the point of what you're saying is, to studying things like just comparison or contrast. The sky is blue, but the grass is green, as opposed to the sky is blue, but the grass is green.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So how to use
And
your
then
speaking voice.
Actors would take this class?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like you're semi-retired. You told me before we started, but you're still involved in the theater world in many aspects. So hopefully we'll see so many more of your plays. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk to your student, Reed Denney. Okay, now we're being joined by Reed Denney. He is one of David's students. Welcome, Reed.
Pleasure to be here.
And he actually grew up here in Latham, in Colonie. So you're studying voice acting. Now, how did you hook up here with David? I know you go to Russell Sage, but you took this class he just talked about voice and text. And
Yes. Well, what happened was that I was going to Hudson Valley for an associate's degree because originally I thought I wanted to be a history teacher, but that was due to the fact that many people were telling me, find a job that's more reasonable because then you'll have the world in the palm of your hand.
They always say that.
They really do. It's so absurd. What happened was that after I got my associate's degree, I realized that all the credits I had gotten transfer into theater. So I kind of had a 1-year period to think about what I really wanted. I procrastinated for a very long time, and finally I decided I want to be a voice actor. I want to do what I always wanted to do.
Since you were a kid?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I used to watch shows like Pokemon, Beautiful Joe, Gundam, all those things, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I've been wanting to voice act ever since. So I went to Russell Sage, and in my second semester, I noticed I had 2 classes. I had Acting 2, and I had Voice and Text. David Bunce happened to be the professor for both of them.
Okay. So David was telling me before we started, this guy's quite the fast learner here.
Yeah, well, that's why I've taken an interest in helping Reed. He did a voiceover demo, which is a few different pieces the other day, and so I went to that to help coach him, and he's just...
Okay, so we'll get some samples in a minute, but Reed, what does a voice actor actually do? It's not is it voiceover of commercials? Is it doing cartoon characters? Or what's your sense of what you might be doing? Or what do you want to do? I guess I should ask.
Well, voice acting can be a variety of things. You could do the voice for Tickle Me Elmo, the doll that you can buy at Toys R Us, or you can be the GPS in someone's car. You can do the cartoons, you can do commercials. There are so many things in the voice acting industry. It's truly amazing that people literally combine it all into one term, and they just call it voiceover.
All right, so
that's all they call it.
Have you been doing voice? We all know, growing up, we all know kids that in the class do a ton of voices. Were you one of those kind of kids that can do all kinds of voices, or?
I can actually. I do voices at work, and I've been sent to the office more than a few times for it.
Well, then give us a little sample of your what you're working on as a career.
Well, okay, so I have a few voices from the demo reel. For the sake of time,
I'll try to put you on the spot,
those.
but just give
no.
I'm
I'm more than happy to do so.
So you can do voices like this. I really don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of nervous about everything. And then you can do voices like this, and it's kind of like I really have no idea what's going on here. And then you can do voices like this.
Well, it's all right. That's good. So, David, how do you harness this kind of? How do you harness this talent? I guess for a career. I mean, because you know.
Yeah, well, for a career, I have a few suggestions,
Okay.
but it really is about trying to, it's that conundrum when you're young of, I don't have much of a resume.
Yeah.
How do I get work so people know I can do this, so I want to
see.
get, so I can get work. And that's one area. The other thing is I basically work with Reed on the acting of the pieces.
Okay.
He does a great job. He's been playing his whole life with funny voices. In many ways, I think he's been either sort of copying a character, imitating a character, or thinking that a certain piece has a certain mood or a certain style or something. So in order for him to make more choices as an actor, it's about him seeing from inside the piece what his interpretation is and how he wants to decide what's important in a piece of copy.
All right. So, Reed, what have you found from going from doing voices sort of with your friends or goofing around at work or something into a situation with David where you're actually really thinking about these kind of things that David just said? How's that change been?
It's been very positive. For example, in the first weeks of class, we really began to crush consonants. So
And that means, what does that mean?
kind of like syllables per se, like consonant. And he actually, every morning, he would have us perform this piece, and it was called Modern General. And it would go, I am the very model of a modern major general. I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical, from Marathon to Waterloo, in order categorical.
All right, that's, of course, from the Gilbert and Sullivan. Right.
Yeah, and we used it as a couple different things. We used it, one, just for breath control, because we tried to do one stanza the first day, two stanzas the second day, three stanzas the third day on the same breath.
Oh, okay.
But also it's using, it's just learning.
Now, do you ever try to do it, the major modern general, as a character, like
yes.
a mouse or something or whatever?
Absolutely.
And you would do it can you show us a little sample of modern major general not as a general, but as something else?
Sure. Here we go. I am the very model of a modern major general. I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical, from Marathon to Waterloo, in order categorical.
All right, well, that's good. I've always wondered how they get through that speech. I've seen that play a few times. Have you ever tried to make up a character before the voice, or does the voice always come first, or have you worked on that yet, or?
Well, I have made some names for some voices, like per se a character, but they were kind of just me goofing around.
Okay.
It wasn't really anything serious at that point. It started to become more and more serious as I began to focus on what I wanted to do with my future.
Okay. So now, David, in this kind of work that he's going to be pursuing, how important is a lot of it? Is it improvised or is it scripted, or do they play around? I don't know really. Do you know anything of how they work? The voice actors, do they sort of play around till they get something, or?
For the most part, the copy is approved, whether that's a commercial or whether that's narration for a video game or anything else. There's usually a lot of people that the actual words have come through on the paper who have had to sign off. So it's not often improvising what the actual words are or the copy is. But it can very much be improvising for somebody like Reed, what that voice is, who that what that approach is, and who that character is. You may walk in and think, as the voice person, oh, I think they want an announcer, like he kind of just did with Modern Major General, and then you'll do 2 lines of it, and from the control booth you'll hear, could you just do it in your voice, or could you just do it with, or could you approach it this way, or could you,
so
we want people to smile when they hear it, so could you approach it in a way that...
So it sounds like you might end up doing these things dozens of times.
Can
Have you done any, you've only done a demonstration reel so far? Have you done any other voice-like work yet, or?
Well, there was one thing. What happened was I got an advertisement for over at Studios, and they wanted someone to do voice work for kind of like something like Google Home, because then it's like the AI can listen to your voice and solely understand what humans sound like. From what I know, that's what I was doing, because I was saying sentences like, okay, Bixby, or okay, Google, what's the weather today?
It was like a computer...
Yes. Unfortunately, the day I went in, I was very sick and I was struggling. Even like with the apple I brought and with all the water I was drinking, I felt like complete trash. I came back in a week later for the second run through, and I was pretty much told off.
Oh, well, I think...
But that's the kind of experience happens to everybody at one time or another.
I think if you're going to be in the acting, I guess you're a subgroup of the acting world, it's possibly might be some rejection along the way.
What I think of it as... I was literally told by Patria Burchard, who did one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite shows, Tenchi Muyo. She told me that half of your life is going to be failed auditions and the other half will be doing voiceover work. And you're going to need money to support yourself. You're not going to be doing voiceover work all the time. You're not going to be a voice actor 24/7 unless you're like extremely popular, something like maybe Robin Williams from Aladdin.
That's true. So are you just going to pursue voice acting, or are you going to try and be an actor, a stage actor also, or is that...
I have nothing against acting on the stage, but it's not what...
You really want to do the voice stuff?
Yes. I prefer doing voices more because for some strange reason, I feel far more comfortable behind a microphone. And also, there's plenty of more room for mistakes. You can do a rerun. They have ADR. They edit all this, and if they feel like you need to come back in, they'll have you come back in and do it again. But if you're on stage and God forbid you forget a line and you're kind of just standing there...
I think David could probably coach you on that. He did it for 27 years.
He has. And acting too, it was great. We did Streetcar Named Desire and Angels in America, and both went fantastic.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you were not in a play before.
No, we were doing...
in class.
Short pieces.
For acting too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And who did you play in Streetcar?
I'm trying to remember his name. The main character,
Stanley Kowalski.
Stanley, yes,
Stanley.
I did Stanley Kowalski due to my personality.
Oh, okay. All right. How did? So you really want to be behind the scenes?
Yes.
Okay. And David, is this your first time in working with a voice, specifically just going on voice stuff, or have you done this kind of stuff before? Or is that always part of your everything you do?
Well, certainly it's part of everything we study as actors, and I've taught this stuff before, but not specifically to somebody who just wanted to do voiceover work, And Reed talked to me early in the semester and said, this is why I'm here and this is what I want to do. And he's been so committed and so driven and so focused that
Okay. All right.
he's done well.
All right, so Reed, are you back in stage this fall? Are you,
August 26th.
all right, you have 1 year left, okay. And then David, how's this working? Are you like just sort of coaching them on the side or working with them because you're not teaching anymore? Or?
Right. So I coached him when he did his demo reel.
Oh, okay.
Came here to get interviewed with him
All right.
and then I actually have him in mind for a small part in something I'm working on, which I'm going to be filming. So.
All right. So you do, besides writing plays, and you've been an actor for many years, director, you do film work too?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So very good. Well, would you like to give us one more voice read before we go here? Or something, if you're going to come up with something original, what's one of your original voices? Do you have any other than,
One
like,
of
like
my-
David said before, instead of mimicking something, do you have any kind of original?
Original voice would probably be my own because I found out, I've asked many voice actors in the past, what would you change if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something? And they always told me, your own voice is enough. You don't have to be someone else all the time. You don't have to prove yourself so often. I mean, there are plenty of voices I can do, but I always found like the voice I always end up using the most, even for anything I've done for other people, is always my own.
Let's see. Well, you do have a good voice. I mean, there's another sideline is here in the library, one of the most popular things, the most growing part of publishing these days is audiobooks. I don't know if you've looked into that, but
I have looked into Audible.
It's audiobooks it has the largest growth in publishing in the last, 5 or 6 years. It's like humongous, and podcasts are big now.
Yeah.
Anything with the voice.
I would absolutely love to do a podcast. If I knew somebody who was willing to bring me on, I would love to.
Well, you'll get there. David, he'll guide you on the rocky shoals of trying to, act.
No, I'm helping get him started.
Yeah.
But he's already, he came into Sage focused
All right. Well, that's good that you
on his way.
All right. So I wish I had known what I wanted to do when I was your age, but you seem like you know what you're doing. So good luck.
Thank you.
And then good luck, David, in your many endeavors. And maybe we will see a one-man show of the fight scenes. I don't know. So we'll see you next time on An Open Door for the Arts.